In this video, I'm gonna show you the full setup of DuckStation, one of the best and my favorite PS1 emulator for PC. This video will cover the emulator installation, how to add games, the emulator settings for graphics and performance, importing save files, cheat codes, retro achievements, and more. We'll do everything step by step so you can play your favorite PS1 games on PC. Let's get going. So the emulator website is this one here, duckstation.org. I'll put the link on the description of the video. And right here on the main page, you're gonna click here on the Windows button. And DuckStation requires VC++ in order for it to work. If you played games on your PC before, it's likely you already have this program installed. But if you don't, you can go ahead and click here to download and then run the program. And it will tell you if you already have that or not. And to download the emulator itself, you have to click here on Download Duck. So go ahead and click this to download it to your PC. I got both files here with me, and just to be sure, I'm gonna start by double-clicking the VC Redist file. And like I told you before, if you already have this installed, you're gonna get this screen here where you can either repair or uninstall the C++. That means you can proceed with the tutorial, but if you don't, you're gonna go ahead and click on Next here until you get this program fully installed, which is a straightforward thing to do, and this program is made by Microsoft, so this is completely safe to install. Now the DuckStation file will come as a .zip file right here, so you're gonna have to extract that, and you can use either WinRAR or 7-zip. I would personally recommend using 7-zip. I'm gonna put the link of that on the description of the video. And when you have that, you're gonna right-click the DuckStation file, select 7-zip or WinRAR depending on what you have, and then you're gonna click here on Extract Here. By doing so, it will generate all of these files right here, and you can go ahead and delete the original zip file. We're not gonna need this anymore, and also the VC++ file as well. Now, before we start the DuckStation file, we're gonna create a new file here inside this folder. So you're gonna right-click anywhere on this folder, and then you're gonna select New, and you're gonna select Text Document right here to create this file. And the name of this text file has to be Portable, exactly like this. When you type that down, press Enter, and now we can double-click the DuckStation file. So go ahead and double-click on this one. And by doing so, you're gonna see that it generates a bunch of folders right here. And that's what this portable text file is for. If you don't create this one and run the installation, these folders will go to your Documents folder, which can be a bit confusing. So I like to keep all of these files on the same location. On the first window, you have the option to change the language of the emulator. There's a bunch of them here available, and you can also change the theme as well. If you click on each one of them, you can see what they look like, so you can just pick the one you want to use here. In my case, I'm just gonna keep the Dark Fusion Gray here. I like that. And also keep the automatic updates option checked here. Now go ahead and click here on Next. And now we have to select the folder where you want the emulator to scan for the BIOS file. This BIOS file, like it says here, is required in order for you to play games on this emulator. And for legal reasons, you must obtain a BIOS from an actual PS1 unit that you own. This emulator will not provide this file for you, but maybe you could get this file from the internet, but I don't know anything about that. By default, the BIOS folder is this one right here. So when you have the file with you, this is where you're gonna be dropping the BIOS file. And it should look something very similar to this one, a .bin file. And there are many BIOS files out there from different regions, but they will all work just fine. So when the file is in there, you're gonna click here on Refresh List, then you're gonna select the region of that BIOS file. The one that I have is the Japanese one right here, so I'm just gonna pick on that one, but you can just keep clicking here until you find yours, and we can proceed now. So go ahead and click on Next, and now we have to select the folder where you want the emulator to scan for games. This can be anywhere on your PC, and they list here the supported formats for this emulator. The most common format is the .ISO1, in which you can convert to the CHD format, which is a compressed file size, so you can save a lot of space on your hard drive. And I have a video on this channel showing you how to do that. I'll put the link on the description. But you don't necessarily need to make a dump of your games into your PC. The emulator can also read games through your CD drive of your computer. I'm gonna show you how to do that later on the video. But what I like to do here is to create a new folder on the emulator root folder here. Select new folder, and I like calling this one games, like this. Now you just go back to the setup wizard, click on add. It should open the emulator folder by default. So now you can just select the games folder, click on it once, and then click on select folder. By doing so, it will ask you if you want the emulator to scan for this folder recursively. This means that if you have a folder inside the games folder, the emulator will find games in there too. For example, here on the games folder, if you create a new folder, for example, Japanese games, and if you put games in there, the emulator will also find the games on that Japanese games folder. So this is gonna be up to you if you want to use this option. I'm gonna go ahead and click on yes to activate that. And you can also select multiple game folders, by the way. It does not have to be a single location, so you can just keep clicking here on add and select more folders. When you're done, click here on next, and now we can set up the controller. And this emulator supports a lot of devices out there, from PlayStation and Xbox controllers and even third-party controllers as well, if you can make them be detected as SDL or DX input API. You can also play with the keyboard as well. That works just as fine. But on this window, first you're gonna select the controller type you wanna use, whether that be analog or digital controllers here. And if you don't have your controller plugged in on your PC, go ahead and do that right now. And when that's done, you're gonna click here on automatic mapping. And if your controller is supported, you're gonna see it right here. In my case, I'm using a Xbox controller, so the option for me is right here, SDL0 Xbox One controller. So go ahead and click on this one, and the emulator will do the automatic mapping for you. If you're gonna use a second controller, you just have to do the same thing here for controller port 2. There is a more detailed controller configuration. I'm gonna show you that in just a bit. But for now, when you're done setting up your controller, click here on next, and there you go, the setup is complete. Click on finish, and just like that, the emulator will appear here. This would be a good time to subscribe to the channel and also leave a like on this video. For the more detailed controller configurations, you're gonna click here on settings and then click on controllers. This window will show up, and you already have a few settings here on global settings, but you want to go here to controller port 1, and here you can do the automatic mapping configuration again, or you can change your controller type and even change individual inputs on your controller as well. You just have to click on the button you want to remap and then press that button on your controller. Pretty straightforward to use, and there is also a hotkeys option as well. And to start a game on the CD format through your CD drive, you're gonna click here on System and then click on Start Disk. But if you have the game files ripped to your PC, the location we selected is the Games folder right here. So I just dropped a couple of games here, Tekken 3 and Spider-Man 2, and now you're gonna go back to the emulator and you're gonna click here on Scan for New Games. And just like that, they will appear right here. By default, DuckStation will use the listing format, but you can also use the grid mode as well by just clicking here on these 4 squares, and you can add custom covers to your games too, and there's a very easy way to do this on this emulator. First, you're gonna head over here to this website of GitHub. I'll put the link on the description of this video. And this tool will download game covers for all the games you currently have on DuckStation. And there are 2 cover types available, the default covers and also the 3D covers as well. I'm putting them on the screen so you can see what they look like. And to start the download process, first you're gonna select either the default or the 3D covers. I'm gonna choose the 3D one here for this guide. So just go ahead and click here to copy this link. Now you're gonna go back to the emulator You're gonna click on Tools and then click on Cover Downloader. This window will show up, and now all you have to do is paste the link right here. Press the right button, select Paste, or you can press Ctrl V on your keyboard. Now you're gonna click here on Start, and in just a few seconds it will download the covers for all the games you have here. If you want to switch from the 3D covers to the default ones or the other way around, first you have to delete the ones you have. They are located right here on this covers folder of the emulator, so just delete the ones you have here and redo the process. Now we are going to tweak the emulator settings, and there are two ways you can do this. The first one is by clicking here on Settings and then start from Interface. And the settings you change here are going to apply to all the games you have. But if you want to change the settings just for one game, then you're going to right click the game you want to change and then select Properties. This is very useful because there are games that require specific settings in order for it to work right, or maybe you just want to play a certain game with different graphical features. For this guide, I'm gonna be using the general settings here. So go ahead and click on Settings and start by clicking here on Interface. On the first option, these settings here are gonna come down to your liking. If you want to start the game at full screen, for example, or if you want to toggle the full screen by double-clicking the mouse and stuff like that. So you can configure this one on any way you want. On the game list, we already did that before with the games folder, but if you want to add extra folders, you can do that by clicking here on Add and add as many folders as you want. Now let's head over to the BIOS setting, and here you can once again change the BIOS file you want to use on this emulator. And also right here on the bottom, Options and Patches, you have the Fast Boot option right here. By enabling this one, the emulator will skip the PS1 startup screen. So if you want to go straight into your game when you start it, this is the option you want to have enabled here. Once again, this is going to be up to you. There are no harms on activating this option here. It is safe to use. Now let's go here to the Console tab. On CPU emulation, you can overclock the CPU of the emulator, not the CPU of your computer, which can be a useful option to do in games that usually have those slowdown sections. You know, whenever there's a lot going on in the game and the FPS drop. One way you can fix that is by increasing the percentage right here. And to activate this one, you just have to click here on Enable Clock Speed Control. Click on Yes, I will confirm bugs without overclocking and stuff. And you can use this slider here to increase that. Overclocking the emulator's CPU can also increase the speed of some games, as in they're gonna run much faster than they should. But on some games, this won't be a problem. You will actually increase the FPS and the game speed will be the same too. But this is gonna depend on the game you're trying to play, of course. Now on CD-ROM emulation, we have the Read and Seek Speed Up options here. And these two options can drastically reduce the loading times of your games. And just like the CPU overclock, some games will break if you go all the way to 10x here and infinite instantaneous too. But on other games, you can use these options here just fine. But one thing that I found out is that there are games that will break if you just increase the read speed up here. But when I increase the CPU overclock here to something around 150%, then the CD-ROM emulation started to work just fine. The game had no troubles or anything like that. Gran Turismo 2 is one example of that. So these are two settings that you definitely want to experiment with the game you're trying to play here. Now let's head over to the emulation tab here. Here on the latency control, there is one setting here that can improve the input lag on this emulator. It's this one here, optimal frame pacing. First, you're gonna click on this one, and by doing so, you can now select the reduce input latency option here. Go ahead and click on this one too, and on frame time buffer, you're gonna bring this down to 0 milliseconds. This will help with the input lag of this emulator. Not that it has a lot of input lag, I think it's fine on this emulator actually, but with these settings, you can reduce the input latency even more. But this is gonna require more of your PC, so if you notice a slowdown when playing the game, come back here and then deactivate these options. Here on the memory card tab, later on in the video, I'm gonna show you how to import your save files and stuff. So we're gonna come back here later. But now click here on the graphics tab. Here on the top, you're gonna click here on automatic and you can see the different video renders that this emulator has. From my personal experience and from checking around, there are two renders that seems to perform the best most of the time. It is Direct3D 11 and Vulkan. And this is gonna depend on your PC setup, what GPU you have, what CPU you have. So there's no best render here in this case. So for this one, select either Direct3D 11 or Vulkan and see which one is performing the best for you. Here on adapter, you can select what GPU you want the emulator to use. In this case, your main GPU, if you have a dual GPU setup, that is. So just pick your main one here and you're good to go. Now here on the rendering tab, on the first option, you can increase the internal resolution of this emulator. By default, it's set to the original PS1 resolution, but you can increase this one all the way to 16 times the resolution. By increasing the resolution, it will make your games look better, obviously, but if you increase it too much, you're gonna start to notice the imperfection of some games, especially the 3D ones that use polygons. And also by increasing the resolution, it's gonna require more of your PC. So you can start by setting this to 2x native and see what it looks like in game, and then decide if you want to increase that further or not. Here on downsampling, this option is for if you want to play games at a low resolution that was downsampled from a higher resolution. That is, it was reduced from a high resolution. The reason for doing this is because resolutions that were downsampled from a higher one provides a better image output instead of just setting the internal resolution to 1 or 2x. And this emulator provides a box and adaptive downsample options here too, which the box one is for 3D games and adapted is for 2D games. So one effective way to use the downsampling is to increase the internal resolution all the way to what your computer can support, like 4K, and then click on downsampling. And if it is a 3D game, you select box and you can change the amount of downsampling that you want to apply to your games. 2x and 3x options here are good enough for me, but that's gonna be up to you. If you want to increase this even higher, that's gonna be up to you here. But remember, the downsampling is only if you want the games at a resolution that is closer to what the original PS1 hardware could deliver. For texture and sprite texture filtering, you have a bunch of options here to select, but I don't really notice a lot of difference here from the default nearest neighborhood. I think the games look just fine with these options here, but you can try testing this one and see what difference it makes to you. Here on aspect ratio, by default, it's gonna use the game native, which is 4:3. So if you wanna play the games with the letterbox on the side, you can just leave it on game native or select 4:3 here. But if you want to stretch the image to 16:9, that is what modern monitors use, you can just select right here. But the thing about this emulator is that we have the widescreen rendering option right here, in which the emulator will increase the field of view from 4:3, so that is displayed correctly on a 16:9 monitor. And this feature works fine for most 3D PS1 games out there, but you should not use this one for 2D games like Mega Man X4. Games that are sprite-based, the widescreen rendering will not work over there. This widescreen rendering is a solution from the emulator itself, but there are cheat codes on this emulator for some games that include specific widescreen patches that were made for that one game. And because of that, they can work better than the widescreen rendering here. I'm gonna get into the cheat codes section later on in this video. Now here on PGXP geometry correction, I'm gonna recommend that you turn this one on. This option will reduce the wobbly effects that 3D games have on this emulator, especially when you move the camera around. And also by activating this one, the PGXP tab will become available here. So click on this one, and inside here, you want to make sure that you have perspective correct textures enabled, and I would also recommend perspective correct colors as well. Back on the rendering tab, I would also recommend to turn on the forced 4:3 aspect ratio for FMV's cutscene, because even if you do select the widescreen rendering, the FMV cutscenes cannot be properly displayed on 16:9, so the emulator will stretch those cutscenes. So it's better to just preserve the aspect ratio right here, or you can turn this off and have them stretch it too. That's gonna be up to you. Also very much recommended to disable the interlacing right here. This will fix that little blur and shaky effects that some elements of your game can have, and it's safe to use too. I clicked here by accident, but you should also use true color rendering. This will get rid of the white muddy effect that some games have, so it will make the image of the game look much better. And that's it for the graphics settings, but if you want a more detailed explanation about DuckStation graphics settings, I'm gonna recommend this video here from another content creator called Warped Polygon. He goes much more in detail on what you can do with the graphics here on DuckStation. I'm gonna put the link of that on the description of this video. Now if you go here to post-processing, there's a bunch of effects you can give here on the emulator, stuff like scan lines, a bloom effect, cell shading. I personally like the CRT Lotus, this one right here, but just remember that when you select your effect here, click here on enable post-processing so that they work on the emulator. Now here on the audio tab, do not change anything here unless you know what you're doing. The default settings will work just as fine. Now here on achievements, this emulator now has support for the Retro Achievements website, and to use them, first you have to click here on enable achievements, and there's a bunch of settings here you want to mess with. But to do this, first you need to create an account on the Retro Achievements website. The website is this one, retroachievements.org. I'll put the link on the description of the video, and there are a bunch of custom achievements available for PS1 games on DuckStation. But to start, you're gonna click here on sign up to create your account. Select a username, your email address, password, and everything, and then click on create user. You're gonna need to select a valid email address because you're gonna need to confirm that once you click on create user. So after you're done, head over to your email, click on the link over there, and your account should be ready. With that part finished, you're gonna go back to the emulator, still here on achievements, here on account, click on login, then type your username, and then click on login. Gonna ask you if you want to enable the hardcore mode, in which allows you to participate in game-specific leaderboards. There's more information about that on the Retro Achievements website. And then click here on yes or no, and just like that, your account information will appear here and you're good to go. The next time you boot up a game, the achievements will be there for you to complete. Now I'm gonna show you how to import save files into your game. So still here on the settings, click on memory cards. And you should know that DuckStation has multiple ways of managing a memory card. By default, it's going to create one memory card for each game you have. So that way you end up having one memory card for each game you have, which will allow you to do things like creating multiple save files in just one memory card. But if you want a traditional method of having one memory card for all games, you have to click here on share between all games. But regardless of what method you choose here, the import is the same. You're gonna start by clicking here on memory card editor. This window will show up. And first, you're gonna start by clicking here on memory card, and you should see the list of your games you currently have a save file for. If your game is not showing up here, that means you didn't play enough to get to the point where the game saves for you. But if it's still not showing up, then you're gonna click here on this little folder icon to open card, and you're gonna navigate to the folder where the memory cards are stored. In this case on DuckStation is this folder here, mem cards, on the emulator folder, and you should see all the save files you have. Because I'm using the method of one memory card per game, I have one memory card here with the Tekken 3 save file. So you're gonna double click on this one, and you should see your save right here. And to import a save file, you can select either import file or import card if you're getting one memory card from the internet that has that Tekken 3 save file, which is usually the most common one you're gonna find out there. On websites like GameFAQs, for example, there's a bunch of PS1 save files here that you can get. So here on Tekken 3, I'm gonna get this one save file here that has everything unlocked for the game. Remember that the save file has to be from the same region as your game, by the way. This is North America, the same one as my game. So now I just have to click here on this download icon to download the save file. So I dropped the save file on the DuckStation folder here. It doesn't really matter where you drop this one, it can be anywhere. And it is on the .gme format here. And DuckStation supports a lot of formats here, so you don't have to convert them or anything like that. It will do this for you. So now I just have to click here on import card, navigate to the location where it is right here, double click on that, and just like that, it has replaced my old save file with the new one. And then just make sure you click here on save, and the new save file will be here. So now all we have left to do is to start the game, and that's how we can get the cheat codes into a game too. So you're gonna double click the game you're going to play here, and as soon as it starts, you're gonna click here on System, and then click here on Cheats. Then you're gonna have the option to enable cheat codes just for this game or for all games you're gonna start. It just means that whenever you start a game and click on Cheats again, it will find the respective cheat codes for that one game. So it's a good idea to click here on Enable for all games. Now, once again, click on System, go to Cheats. Now you're gonna click on Cheat Manager. And just like that, it will list all the cheats available for that one game you're currently playing. And to activate them, you just have to click on the little box on the side of them as such. And in some games, the cheats will work as soon as you just click here, but some games require you to restart the game. And that's usually a good idea too, so you don't get any bugs or anything like that. So as soon as you select them, you can just close this and then click on System again and then select Reset. Now the cheats will take place. And like I said previously on the video, if the game has any widescreen patches here, they're gonna show up in here. That's not the case for Tekken 3. So in this case, you're gonna have to rely on the widescreen rendering here from the emulator, which works okay on a lot of games out there. If you wanna use save states, it's right here on System, and then you can either load a state or save to. And you can also set hotkeys in here. So you just press one button on your keyboard to save the game or load it, if that's something you're gonna do multiple times on your game. And that's all you need to set up DuckStation and play PS1 games on your PC. I have many videos like this on the channel covering how to install and play games on PC with the best settings for performance and graphics, so if you like what you saw, don't forget to subscribe, hit the like button, and as always, I'll see you soon.